Welcome to my channel. My name is Adina. I'm an intuitive astrologer. In this video, we will be going over the new moon that we are having in Cancer at 24 degrees, July 17th of 2023. So the first portion of this video, I get into all of the energy. I go through all of the major aspects the moon's making, any energy that's around the moon that's really going to add to the energy we're working with. And then for the second portion of this video, I will get into all 12 rising signs. And that way you're able to see the themes and topics that you can really utilize to bring something in for you, because new moons are all about new beginnings and really creating something new, but also about releasing and letting go. New moons are really a time where we want to let go of what is no longer in alignment to make room for something new to come in. And so when we get into all 12 rising signs, the house that is associated, so the house that you have Cancer in, whatever those themes and topics are, you can really utilize this energy to manifest something, aligned with those themes and topics, associated with those themes and topics. So for example, if you have Cancer in the 7th house, this would be a great time to really work with the relationships in your life or personal connections. So that's just a little bit of an example on, really how we want to utilize the new moons. Now, this new moon is at 24 degrees of Cancer and 56 minutes. Yes. So, and also I usually do these moon videos where I pull the chart up, and unfortunately this week I'm having issues with my software. So this week we just have to do podcast style. So I'm sorry about that, but I'm still going to get into all of the energy. So don't worry. But if you want to adjust or make sure that you have the right time for when the new moon is exact, you would put the new moon at 24 degrees and 56 minutes. If you've watched my moon videos before, you would have heard me say that it really, through my personal observation, I've noticed that any intentions I set at the time of the new moon in a sign tends to come to fruition at the time of the full moon in that same sign 6 months later. And so in 6 months, we will have the full moon in Cancer. So just something to kind of keep at the back of your head and really observe. And this is why I always really suggest and recommend journaling. I love journaling for everything. Journaling is really good to track your moon cycles. So when you have your lunar return, and actually, if you guys don't know what a lunar return is, comment below, because I use lunar returns every single month and they are so beneficial and accurate when you really want to know the energy that you're working with for the month ahead. So comment below if you would like me to do a video on that, because I use lunar returns every month. Now, I don't offer lunar return readings because it's only for the month ahead, but maybe I should. Let me know in the comment below if you would like that. They would probably just be mini readings, because you're really just getting an idea of the energy that you're working with for the month ahead. So the current energy. And I'm telling you, I do this every single month, and it's so accurate and it's so beneficial to really have a feel, an idea for the energy that I'm working with. But anyways, that's a little off track. But what you really want to do is with these new moons, when you journal, you can journal. So if you follow the moons in the signs, and you can write down, how you're feeling, or really, like I do it with my emotions, my feelings, how I'm feeling inside, my energy. And I really kind of document that, and I write it in my journal. So I know when the moon is in Aries, I tend to be a little bit more irritable, which is understanding because Aries is a fire sign. It's very, kind of impulsive. But you can see how this really works with you by journaling down how you feel, how your energy is throughout the month, where the moons are. That's just another little tidbit, that has helped me, that it's really interesting and fascinating. And you can even do it with all of the astrological energies. You can have a journal and really document, when planets and the moon are in certain signs, how do you feel? And it really gives you an idea of how you're moving through those energies. And then you are able to kind of predict for the future when those planets go in those signs again. You're able to kind of keep track back and predict, future experiences for yourself. So this new moon in Cancer is a really, Cancer is a water sign. Cancer is a very receptive sign. It represents our emotions, our feelings. It's a very intuitive sign. It's also a very protective sign too. It's like the mother sign of the zodiac. And so Cancerians can tend to be, very protective over their family, their friends. And so when we're using Cancer energy to manifest, this is where we really want to tap into our intuition. We really want to be tapping into our intuition and becoming in tune with ourselves, how we're feeling, what is coming up for us, journaling that down. This is great energy to even do intuitive work. The really interesting thing about this new moon in Cancer is that this is the last new moon in Cancer that will be opposing Pluto. Pluto has been in Capricorn for the last 15 years. I believe it was 2008 or 2009 when Pluto entered Capricorn. But Pluto has been in Capricorn for 15 years, and Pluto will not be in Capricorn again when we have a new moon in Cancer. So this is almost like an ending of a 15-year cycle in a sense, because whatever these moons have been activating for you, they've been using Pluto energy for transformation, for really getting to the bottom of something in your life and transforming that in some way. So this is almost like a finalizing of the last 15 years, whatever you've been moving through in these areas of your life. So it's something else you really just want to be aware of is that what has Pluto really transformed for you since Pluto's been in Capricorn? It's like this is the final releasing and letting go to bring something new in. And Pluto, this is happening in a lot of areas of our life because Pluto's hitting a lot of different areas of our chart. And that's why we are all going through major transition and transformation. But with this Cancer Capricorn axis, this is like a finalizing of energy, a closing out, and a final understanding of how far you've come in these areas of life, how far you've come with whatever it is you've currently been moving through with this journey. This new moon is happening just before the nodes enter Aries and Libra. And this is quite significant because even this new moon is forming a T-square to the nodes. It's 6 degrees away, but it can still be quite powerful. And it's almost like a grand cross between the new moon, Pluto, and the nodes. And so if you've been watching my videos or listening to my videos, and I've talked a lot about that T-square between Pluto and the nodes, this new moon is just adding to that intense energy. This is really going to bring more up that needs to be let go of, that needs to be moved out, that's no longer in alignment. This can have to do with your Cancer Capricorn journey, that axis there between the Cancer moons and Pluto. And this also has to do with the Taurus and Scorpio areas. And then we're moving into Aries and Libra. So there's a lot of energy here that's being worked with and moved through. And a lot of what is showing up here and coming up is what needs to be released. There's a lot here that's going to be shown and known that is just no longer in alignment. And it'll show up for everybody differently. And you will, of course, get an idea when we get into all 12 rising signs. But whatever you're moving through, when it has to do with your journey, your purpose, your soul's mission in this lifetime, there's more energy coming in to bring clarity, to bring more of an understanding of what needs to be let go of for you, what you need to let go of and release. This can be attachments. This can be relationships. This can be old experiences that you're hanging on to, or this can be just jobs, family. This can really show up in many ways, and it will look different for everyone. So really when you're listening to this, you want to pay attention to what is coming up for you in your gut. What is the first thing that kind of comes up when you're hearing me talk about what needs to be released and what you've been moving through? And that will give you an idea of what this is all working with, because your intuition and energy will be speaking to you. So pay attention to how you're feeling and what is coming up for you while I'm even talking about all of this energy. So with the fact that this new moon's happening right before the nodes enter Aries and Libra is quite interesting, because at the same time, so there's a lot going on here. So I'm going to try and explain it the best I can, because I don't have the chart. Well, I don't have the chart up to kind of point you guys in the right direction, but we have the new moon squaring the nodes. The nodes when this new moon happens, the nodes will be at 0 degrees and 0 minutes of Taurus and Scorpio. So really just getting ready to enter Aries and Libra. Venus is the ruler of the North Node in Taurus, but as soon as those nodes enter Aries and Libra, Venus then becomes the ruler of the South Node. This really speaks to me where it's like this new moon is bringing information in, bringing something in, energy, feeling, emotion. There's something coming in with this new moon that is like, wow, I know this is the direction I have to move in. This is a part of my journey. This is a part of my purpose. I know I have to do this. I know I have to move in this direction. And then as soon as the nodes shift, it's like, now I know what I have to let go of. Because remember, the South Node is a part of letting go of something. The North Node is the direction we're moving into. So it's quite interesting and fascinating how this is happening. It's like the new moon is activating something to come in and understanding. And then as soon as those nodes shift, there's something coming in where it's like, okay, this is what I have to release in order to move forward. So it really is fascinating. And at the time of this new moon, we have Venus in a yod. Venus is forming an in conjunction to Pluto and an in conjunction to Neptune. And I believe I talked about this in one of my previous videos where I go into the energy for July, because this entire month is quite intense. But this is basically where Venus has how I really perceive this, and the intuitive download I get and what I feel from that energy is that Venus has an understanding of what she needs to do. There's an understanding of what needs to be done, but there's a new direction ahead. There's something new coming in, but it's unknown. It's scary. So it really requires Venus to get out of her comfort zone and take a chance, step into the unknown. And when that happens, because of all this Pluto energy, there's supportive energy here for massive transformation. And Venus energy can have to do with how your self-love, your self-worth, how you really value yourself and feel about yourself. You may even have an understanding of maybe how you felt before and how you feel now. So maybe you've changed over the last few months, couple of years. Well, maybe you've changed, especially since February 2022 when the nodes shifted into Taurus and Scorpio. But there's been transformation of some kind when it has to do with your self-worth and what you want, what makes you happy, what you desire. And so this can really be all brought up and highlighted where you're now understanding, how far you've come. You're understanding what's changed. Maybe what you wanted and needed and desired before has shifted. And so what is around you, people around you, experiences, certain things and attachments around you now have to be released because they're no longer in alignment. So this new moon can really highlight that energy, can really highlight just really bringing up and showing you and having you understand what is no longer in alignment with who you are now. Now, at the same time, we have this new moon forming a sextile to Uranus and Taurus at 22 degrees. So this really brings in an unexpected element to this new moon, where something can really come in unexpectedly, where you didn't expect to have this understanding, or this can even be some type of opportunity coming in that is requiring you to make a decision, to choose, is if I take this, whatever this opportunity is, this can be if I take this opportunity, is what I already have still in alignment? Do I have to release that in order to move forward? And so Uranus is really bringing in this unexpectedness to the new moon. And so however this is showing up, something can just come in that is out of left field. This can also bring in a little bit of chaotic energy, because Uranus can be chaotic. Uranus can bring in insight as well. Uranus is known as the Great Awakener. So this can be some type of sporadic intuitive download where if you act on it, it takes you to new opportunities. So it's just another element to the new moon that you want to be aware of. We also have Mercury now in Leo at 12 degrees, forming a square to Jupiter in Taurus at 11 degrees. And so squares don't always have to be challenging, but they can be. They can also show up as blockages or a stop to something. And so with Mercury being in Leo, this is almost like Mercury can represent our mindset. Mercury can also represent communication and information, reading, speaking, writing, all of those mercurial things. This can almost be like having the mindset finally of, I want to do this. I have the courage. Now I'm ready to go, because Leo is very passionate, very courageous. And with that square to Jupiter, there's like a hold on, not yet. It's not the time. Hold on a second. Don't move too fast. So just another thing we want to be mindful of. But that mindset of wanting to and getting the courage is really great, because we also have Venus in Leo as well. And that is where Venus needs to dive into that courageous Leo energy to make that choice. And so with the fact that Venus now has Mercury in Leo, there's a shifted mindset. There really is a shift in even the direction, what you're focusing on. And then with Jupiter, there can be something coming in. It can even be insight coming in that's saying, hold on, again, this has to be worked through before you can take these steps forward. So something, again, we just want to be mindful of, because we do have the energy there at the time of this new moon. Now, my final thoughts on this new moon, because of all of the energy that this new moon is working with, we have that opposition to Pluto. We also have the new moon forming a T-square to the nodes. And then at the same time, too, we have Venus forming a trine to the north node and a sextile to the south node. So this new moon is speaking a lot to the nodes. So the nodes are getting ready to change. The energy is about to shift. If you haven't checked out my video about the nodes entering Aries and Libra, make sure you do so. I also go into all 12 rising signs. But a lot of the energy here with this new moon is really going to highlight more of the direction you're moving in. There's more of an understanding of the direction that you want to move in and need to move in, and more of an understanding of what cannot move in this direction with you, what cannot come, what needs to be let go of and released, whether it is relationships, whether it is a mindset, whether it is just this old version of yourself that you now have an understanding is just not you anymore. And so it has to finally just fall away. You have to just release it and let it go and surrender in order to move into this new version of you. So this can really show up as attachments, people, mindset. This will show up for you again. What is coming up for you as I speak, you want to pay attention to intuitively what's showing up for you and how your energy is speaking to you. But that's really what I feel like will be highlighted with this new moon. So I really do hope that you enjoyed this new moon, and I hope you guys all utilize the new moon to the best that you can. And thank you so much for joining me. If you align with my energy and enjoy this video, then don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and I will connect with you in the next one. Now let's get into all 12 rising signs. Aries, you have this new moon happening in your 4th house, and the 4th house represents home, family, property, real estate. Now, you may have found that over the last 15 years, you have been going through major transformation when it has to do with your home and family and your work, your career. This new moon is opposing Pluto, and this will be the last new moon that opposes Pluto in this lifetime. Pluto has been in Capricorn, which is in your 10th house of work, career, and public reputation. So all of the moons in Cancer that we have had the last 15 years has been moving and working with and activating energy within your 4th house and your 10th house. So your home and family and property and your work and career. So there is a finalizing happening here. There is a final understanding of what needs to be released and let go of, and what you need to bring in that is new, that is fresh, and that is in alignment with you. Now, at the time of this new moon, you also have Venus in the 5th house, and Venus is going to be retrograde in Leo for the next couple of months. Venus stations retrograde July 22nd in your 5th house, and the 5th house represents passion, play, creativity, your children. So all of those themes and topics are going through a complete renovation. You are completely reworking and reevaluating what you love and enjoy and want to do, and what your hobbies are, the creative, what you really want, what creativity you want to bring into your life. So this new moon, Aries, is really highlighting all of those themes and topics for you and bringing in a final understanding of what needs to be released and let go of when it has to do with what is no longer in alignment with you, and a final understanding of what you need to bring in that is now in alignment with you. And this has to do with your home and your family, your work and career, and what you truly enjoy doing. Taurus, you have this new moon happening in your 3rd house, and the 3rd house represents your local community, your neighbors, your neighborhood, vehicles. The 3rd house also represents siblings and cousins and communication, reading, speaking, writing. Now, we have had Pluto in Capricorn for the last 15 years, and you have Capricorn in your 9th house, and the 9th house represents long distance travel, philosophy, higher education, also belief systems. And so you may find that this new moon is really highlighting a final understanding of how those 9th house and 3rd house topics have been completely reworked and reevaluated and redirected in some way. Now, this new moon is forming a T-square to the nodes, and you have the North Node still currently in your 1st house and the South Node in your 7th. And what I'm really feeling here is that if there's something that you've been really wanting to do that has to do with your 3rd and 9th house topics, maybe traveling, maybe something about purchasing a vehicle, something around your belief systems, there may be something that is brought to your awareness or that needs to be balanced between you and your close personal connections or relationships. Now, you also have Venus in your 4th house, and the 4th house represents home and family and property. And Venus is going to be stationing retrograde July 22nd in Leo, where you will be completely reworking that energy within your home. And this can be where you're thinking of renovating or decorating or something along those lines, or even moving. But there's something that may be unknown about this or scary. And so this is this is energy that can also be highlighted at this time with whatever decision that you're trying to make when it has to do with your living situation or your home. Gemini, you have this new moon happening in your second house, and the second house represents your money, your finances, your material possessions, also your values. And this new moon is opposing Pluto for the last time. All of the moons in Cancers, all of the moons, the new moons and the full moons that we have had in Cancer the last 15 years have been opposing Pluto, meaning that your second house and your eighth house have been going through some type of transformation and transition last 15 years, which has to do with your money, your material possessions, and also your partner's money or money coming in from outside resources. So this new moon can really highlight an understanding of how your money situation has changed over the last 15 years, or possibly your mindset around money. This new moon can also bring in opportunities around money. Now, you also have Venus in your third house, and the third house represents your local community, your neighbors, your neighborhood, your cousins, your siblings, but also the third house can represent communication, reading, speaking, writing, and Venus is going to be stationing retrograde July 22nd in Leo for a couple of months. So there's going to be a complete reworking of those themes and topics. There's going to be a complete reevaluating the energy when it has to do with communicating, or when it has to do with your local community or your siblings or your neighbors or any of those topics, really. So you may find that there's something that's coming in at the time of this new moon that's really highlighting those themes and topics for you, where maybe there is a new opportunity, but it's very unknown, and it's going to require you to really get out of your comfort zone to take advantage of that beautiful opportunity that can bring you blessings. Cancer, you have this new moon happening in your first house. This is your new moon. So this is a perfect time to set intentions for anything that you really want to get moving, get started. That's a part of your journey. That's a part of your purpose. Anything. This is actually a great time too, where you can change your mindset in some way, where if you want to bring in motivation or bring in willpower, drive, or creativity, this is also a really good time where you can utilize the energy around this new moon to do so. But because this new moon is opposing Pluto, and you've had Pluto in your seventh house for the last 15 years, and the seventh house represents your relationships and close personal connections, there is something being highlighted here around your mindset around relationships. Maybe what you once needed or wanted or desired in relationships has changed, and now there's a final understanding of that. There's an understanding of what you need now to what you used to need or used to want. So there also may be an understanding of who needs to be released in your life and let go of, because they're just no longer in alignment. Now, because you have Venus in your second house, and your second house represents your values, this can also highlight an understanding of how far you've come when it has to do with your self-worth, your self-love, how you feel about yourself. And if this is also even because July 22nd, Venus stations retrograde, where there can be a complete reworking and re-understanding of your self-love, your self-worth, and your values. And so that can also really be highlighted at the time of this new moon. Leo, you have this new moon happening in your 12th house, and the 12th house represents places that are hidden, isolation. So it does represent isolation, but it can represent places that are hidden, like asylums, hospitals, retreat centers. But the 12th house, it really signifies taking a step back for a little bit. And so that while we are in this new moon energy, you may just want to take a step back, keep to yourself, maybe take some alone time, reevaluate your surroundings, your energy, redirect your energy, and just have some alone time. This can also be an understanding, like a time where you're understanding how far you've come on your spiritual journey and where you are bringing new spiritual elements into your life. And even how you've kind of redirected your daily routine in some way too, because of the Pluto energy in the sixth house. Maybe your day-to-day life has changed over the last 15 years, and you're kind of having an understanding of that at this time. Now, you are about to have Venus retrograde in your first house, July 22nd. So you are about to go through a lot of energy changes when it has to do with you, what you want, what you need, what you desire. career, what you love, how you want to be loved. And so this new moon can really start to highlight all that for you, where there can be an understanding of what you no longer want in your life, who you no longer want in your life, and what you need and want in your life. Virgo, you have this new moon happening in your 11th house, and the 11th house has to do with your friendships, social groups, humanitarian pursuits, your online connections, also your hopes and your dreams. Now, because Pluto has been in Capricorn for the last 15 years, and this new moon is opposing Pluto, and every moon, new moon and full moon that we've had in Cancer the last 15 years has opposed Pluto. So in a sense, this new moon is highlighting how much transformation has happened in your life when it has to do with fifth house topics. So what you love and enjoy doing, your passions, your creativity, and possibly what you want to put online. If you have been wanting to start an online business, this is really going to highlight that for you. This is really going to bring new energy in to really get that going. Or even if it has to do with your hopes and your dreams and your creativity. Virgo, this new moon is very much highlighting if you have been wanting to start anything with online businesses or anything that really has to do with your passions and your creativity, and you've been wanting to make it lucrative in some way, this new moon's really highlighting that. And pay attention to what is really showing up for you, because there can be things coming in that will require you to step out of your comfort zone. And if you do, amazing blessings and opportunities can come your way. Libra, you have this new moon highlighting your 10th house, and the 10th house represents your career, your public reputation, the legacy you leave behind after your working years. Now, this new moon is opposing Pluto retrograde in your 4th house, and Pluto has been in your 4th house for the last 15 years. So every time we have had a new or full moon in Cancer, it has been opposing Pluto. So this is a finalizing and a final understanding of the transformation that has taken place between your 4th house and your 10th house. And your 4th house represents your home, your family, your property, and the 10th house is your career. So this new moon can be highlighting more that needs to shift and change to finally kind of finalize that energy. And this new moon can also bring in an understanding of the transformation that's taken place and what really needs to be released and let go of to step into this new chapter. Now, you also have Venus in your 11th house, and the 11th house represents friendships, social groups, your hopes, your dreams. So there can be some opportunity coming in with your friends or social groups that may be a little unknown or new to you. However, if you really get the courage and kind of step into the unknown, there can be amazing blessings coming your way, Libra. Scorpio, you have this new moon highlighting your 9th house, and the 9th house represents long distance travel, higher education, higher knowledge, philosophy, also belief systems. So this new moon is opposing Pluto in your 3rd house, and the 3rd house represents your local community, local travel, your neighborhood, also your siblings and cousins. But these are the publishing houses, where the 3rd house represents communicating, reading, speaking, and writing, and the 9th house represents publishing. And so if this is something that is in alignment with you, if you've been wanting to publish something, this new moon, or even a podcast or anything along those lines that really represent communicating in some way, this new moon can really highlight that for you. And the fact that you have Venus in your 10th house in Leo, and Venus will be stationing retrograde July 22nd, which will be completely reworking that energy. If this is something you've really wanted to do for work or business, you have the energy here to support it. But I feel like this may be something new, so it does require you to step out of your comfort zone. And this can be with any career, Scorpio. There's a lot of energy here that with your career, there can be some new opportunity coming in, but it's new, it's different. So it does require you to step out of your comfort zone. But there's a lot of energy here where if you tap into your creativity, that you can really create some beautiful things that can be lucrative. Sagittarius, you have this new moon happening in your eighth house, and the eighth house represents your partner's finances, money coming in from outside resources, so loans, taxes, inheritance. The eighth house can also represent psychological transformation. So, this new moon is highlighting all of those themes and topics, but the fact that the new moon is opposing Pluto, which this has been happening in the last 15 years, but this will be the last new moon that opposes Pluto in your second house, which the second house represents your finances, your money, your material possessions. So, there's a final understanding of the transformation that has taken place when it has to do with your money, your finances, your material possessions, money coming in from outside resources. You also have Venus in Leo, which is in your ninth house. And the ninth house can represent traveling, long distance travel, or higher education, higher knowledge. So this can be a time where there's opportunities coming in that are unknown, that are kind of out of your comfort zone. But if you do take a hold of them, beautiful blessings can be coming your way. Capricorn, you have this new moon happening in your seventh house, and the seventh house represents your relationships, your close personal connections, even your business partnerships. And you've currently had Pluto in your first house for the last, not currently, but you've had Pluto in your first house for the past 15 years, meaning that every time we have a new moon or a full moon in Cancer in your seventh, it's opposing Pluto. This is the last new moon that will be opposing Pluto for the rest of this lifetime. And so there's an understanding of the transformation that has taken place here when it has to do with you and your relationships, you and your close personal connections, possibly what you need, want, and desire in your partnerships. That's completely changed. Maybe what you once needed or wanted, you no longer need and want. Your desires have changed. Your wants have changed. And so there can be this understanding of that and new energy coming in where you might need to release and let go of who is no longer in alignment. There's this kind of new you taking place. You've been completely transformed. And so there's an understanding here of what needs to be released and let go of so that you can take hold of this new you. Aquarius, you have this new moon happening in your sixth house, and the sixth house represents your daily routine, your health routine, work, your nutrition habits, what you do day to day. And so there can be a new understanding of how that's been transformed over the last 15 years since you've had Pluto in the 12th house opposing that energy. This is the last new moon that you will experience with Pluto opposing that new moon in the 6th house. And so you may find that there's an understanding of the transformation that's taken place when it has to do with your health, when it has to do with your work, or when it has to do with your day-to-day lifestyle and routine. Now, there is energy here where there may be something coming up with partnerships, relationships, finances, and the unknown, where something can possibly be unknown. And so you want to watch and see what is showing up for you at this time. There may be opportunities or new energy coming in where if you listen to your intuition and you do what you know is in alignment with you, great blessings can truly come into your life, but it may require you to release and let go of someone or something, some type of attachment that is holding you back in some way or blocking you. And so that can all really be highlighted with this new moon, Aquarius. Pisces, you have this new moon happening in your 5th house, and the 5th house has to do with passion, play, pleasure, creativity, children. And so all of those themes and topics can really be highlighted with this new moon, where there's a final understanding of what is not in alignment with you no more. And I say that because when it comes to our moons in Cancer, the new moon and the full moon in Cancer, it's been opposing Pluto in Capricorn for the last 15 years. There's something about this Cancer energy that has been completely transformed over the last 15 years, where this new moon is the last new moon that will be opposing Pluto. So there's a final understanding of those themes and topics and how they have been completely transformed in some way. There's also energy here that is really highlighted when it has to do with your health, your work, and your daily routine, and something that is possibly confusing or unknown, or opportunities coming in that are unknown and scary and does require you to kind of release and let go of that fear and take a hold of that new energy, take a hold of those new opportunities that are coming in that are now in alignment with you and are for the greater good of your soul's journey.